Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, this is Conquer001. Welcome back to my YouTube Vanguard channel. Well, YouTube channel to be more precise. And I'm here with an update in regards to my Murakumo-Nubatama Hybrid deck. And this is a bit of an update that I've been working on together with the release of BT09 that was just released a few days earlier. Just to share with you what happened during the past few days. Yesterday it was the regionals, and I took part in it. Me and my team were actually, lucky enough to actually get into the shop qualifiers. Went through it, and then we actually went to the regionals that took place in Singapore. Unfortunately, we got kicked out in the round 4. Unfortunately, it was I wouldn't say it was a massacre, but this sounds like really sour. But generally, my opponent that I was actually dealing with, his luck was definitely at its peak. He dealt me like double crits really early at a really early stage. I couldn't stop it, and unfortunately I have to say the same for my team members as well. It was a bit of a shame, but we actually walked away still happy winners, really, and well, happy losers. But we won in the sense that we actually all three of us actually feel that we learned something valuable. And when I actually walked away, I'm surprised I didn't feel bitter. I feel that I actually gave a really good game. I feel my team members really did very well, and generally we enjoy ourselves. So but anyway, on to the meat of this video, which is regarding about my Murakumo and Nubatama Hybrid deck. This will be my version 2.0. 2.0 is incorporating BT09 elements. So without further ado, let's just go real quick regarding what I actually made changes to. First up, I changed the starter to the BT09 starter card known as Stealth Dragon Magatsu Wind. And as you probably have figured out, this is the chain right for Murakumo from BT09. So let me just put this down. To summarize, what the starter does is that if a grade 1 equivalent of this chain ride actually rides on top of this card, I can search the top 7 cards of my deck for the grade 2 or the grade 3 chain ride cards. Only one card, of course, and put it into my hand, shuffle the rest in back to the deck. And if it's a Murakumo card that's not part of the chain ride that rides on top of the starter, I may choose to actually move it to any rearguard circle. Then there's the trigger setup. Despite the fact that there are new triggers for Murakumo, I decided to stick with the standard 4 triggers: 4 heals, draws, stands, and crits. And as I feel that by far this standard diversified trigger setup offers, at least to me, offers the most versatility and uncertainty when it comes to the opponent. The opponent would not be expecting like, oh no, is it going to be a stand, is it going to be a crit, is it going to be a draw, is it going to be a heal. It constantly keeps them on an edge, because if you're going to use like other decks, then you kind of expected them to be using a certain set of triggers, like from my personal experience, a lot of Sternblood Kruger users that I know chalk the decks full of crits to take advantage of the Sternblood Kruger Sternblood Kruger skill, which isn't wrong, but and most likely it makes it very effective. But in a sense, it also makes the deck style or rather predictable. Whereas if you have like a variety of triggers, it actually could cause some how should I say, it actually throws a wrench into what the opponent might be expecting. So in a sense, this actually helps me out. But on the other note, of course, it's a double-edged sword. You need to know like what kind of units that you should probably put. You also have to take note of the probability of what kind of triggers might come out. So yeah, I was just winding off on about some of the things. But anyway, beyond the triggers, of course, I have 2 copies of the Stealth Beast Hagakure, the Grade 0 Nubatama card from BT01, which, by the way, despite how unreliable these 2 cards are, several times they actually saved me and actually caused a lot of discomfort to the opponent. Oh my goodness, it is amazing the amount of stress that I could do with like 16 lines, 16 or 15k lines against my opponent. The amount of mental stress is really immense. So which only proves the point that Nubatama, if further developed at the earliest stage of the game itself, could be a total game changer, which is why I actually applaud Bushiroad's decision of not developing Nubatama further on beyond BT01. But nonetheless, Nubatama is coming back on BT13, and I'm really looking forward to that. Although for us English players, it's gonna take a long time. But anyway, moving on, we have the classic Grade 1. So I have 4 copies of the Stealth Beast, Stealth Dragon, Dread Master, the BT01 Nubatama cards, and I have 3 copies of the Murakumo-Nubatama Perfect Guards. I have 2 copies of the Stealth Beast Leaf Raccoon, which if I'm boosting Murakumo Vanguard, and if I have more cards than my opponent, then this card gets an additional 4k when boosting it, or rather the booster Vanguard gets an additional 4k. But of course, I added 4 copies of the new BT09 Murakumo Chain Ride Stealth Dragon Magatsu Breath. The skill is, as I described, is that if you actually ride it on top of the Grade 0, you can search the top 7 for Grade 2 or Grade 3 and put it into your hand. Now moving on to the Grade 2 setup, I have which by the way, I'm still experimenting. I'm still trying to figure out how to best take advantage of the chain ride and the various card skill. But this is what I've been this is the current state right now. So I have 3 copies of the Stealth Beast Chigasumi Nubatama, very useful, very useful. I have 3 copies of Stealth Beast White Mane, the 9k on Flipper. I have 4 copies of the Stealth Dragon Magatsu Gale. That's the Grade 2 of the Chain Ride, which if I manage to ride it successfully on top of the Grade 1 Magatsu Gale, Magatsu Breath, then I can superior call up to 2 of Magatsu Gale, call it to 2 empty rearguard circle, or actually to any rearguard circle, and use them as like an immediate attack without actually using any cards from my hand, which is incredible. This chain ride puts a lot of emphasis on stand triggers, I feel. And let's see, and at the end of the turn, you actually put those 2 superior called Magatsu Gale cards to the bottom of the deck, right? So on the other note, it also helps you to cipher siphon out, to actually help you filter out the deck, the cards that are not triggers, increasing your chances of actually trigger checking a trigger. And just an experiment which I put it today is the Stealth Dragon Royal Nova. It is essentially a Grade 2 10k card, but it only maintains its 10k power if any of the cards from the chain ride is in place. In this case, it's the Magatsu Storm, the Grade 3 chain, or Magatsu Gale, which is the Grade 2. Otherwise, if it's any other unit, this card becomes a 5k, which could be a bummer, especially if I have to write this, which I really don't want to, which is only why for now I'm just putting 1. But otherwise, when it attacks, it plus another 2k. So it is actually a pretty good card, if not for its strict restrictions, or rather its strict requirements that specifically caters to the chain ride itself. It is also a common card, by the way. And now finally to the Grade 3, As you already know, I have 3 copies of Stealth Dragon Void Master, and supposedly 4 copies of Magatsu Storm. What you're seeing over here is Kurama Lord, which was the previous build. But the reason why it's still there is it's to act as a proxy, because I'm still in the midst of actually procuring them. Originally, I only got 1, and then I started trading around. I managed to get another one. I managed to open the pack. I got another one. So it was I was quite surprised. Within just this weekend, today, yesterday, and the day before, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I managed to get 2 more. So 3. So I just need 1 more. So so far so good. This deck is performing as I should. Just today I played a couple of rounds with someone else, and it plays a lot. It plays a lot of stress. A notable problem with this deck is that because of the fact that by its nature, its base power is only 10k or less, in this case of the Void Master 9k, which by all means I really do try not to ride it, but unless I have no choice, it becomes difficult to hit cross riders, especially when this deck itself doesn't really have a lot of like 8k boosters to try to bring its power to 18k. The only saving grace is that if the chain ride goes through, which becomes 11k by itself, 11k base, then I can just use for example, Magatsu Breath, or even the the Stealth Beast Leaf Raccoon, if I manage to get enough cards. Or I could even use Stealth Beast, Stealth Dragon Dreadmaster, which fortunately it is a 7k, so therefore helping me to bring it up to the magic number of 18k. But other than that, I realized that there's a lot of restrictions, a lot of difficulty in trying to hit those magic numbers of 18, or 18 or even 13, in regards to cross riders. Against 10k builds, 10k power builds, I feel that this deck has no problem. It puts a lot of stress. For 11k and even 13ks, there will be a bit of a difficulty, but not impossible if one is able to keep on putting stress on it. Because I mean, let's consider this situation. Okay, your opponent is let's see, 11k, all right, and your attacker base is, or rather your combined power for let's say that particular lane is 12 to 15, right? So that means the opponent just conveniently needs a 5k guard. But the point of this deck is that it also to the point that you are also reducing the hand. They might be forced to say, okay, fine, I would drop a 5k. Maybe it's a 5k grade 2 or a 5k grade 1. Or even draw in this case. You are still effectively reducing their hand by 1. It might not count as much, but it's still something, because they might in the future, the next turn, they might be drawing cards that they do not need or they cannot use, like a trigger, right? A trigger 10k. What are they gonna use? Boosted. It's only like 4k or 5k at best, and it's not gonna work much. So they would actually prefer to actually keep it in their hand, which also contributes to the fact that they are unable to launch heavy attacks per lane, or specific lanes. So in a sense, it's also pretty good. Not to mention, since Murakumo's Great One Leaf Raccoon derives its skill activates when you have more cards than the opponent, the Nubatama helps to draw out that innate strength. In which that it reduces their hand, and then when it's my Vanguard's turn to attack, I then get 2 more cards, therefore effectively bringing my hand count above them. Of course, on that turn, Leaf Raccoon's skill would not activate, but if I manage to survive the next turn and comes back to me, and if I manage to maintain my hand, then I can easily just outlast my opponent. There lies a particular problem which I'm still trying to wrap my head around, is regarding about Nubatama's skill of discarding. Now, maybe the internet might be able to offer me some information. That'll be great, because I tried searching the internet, but I wasn't able to get any clear answer. The problem, the query that I'm having, is this particular setup. So let's say Magatsu Storm is here as the Vanguard, and I have a Void Master right here, and I have let's see, Stealth Dragon Dreadmaster right over here, right? So let's say I actually attack. The attack goes through. my hand, I've actually oh sorry, let me just change that first, right? No, I'll just keep it this way. So the attack goes through, the opponent doesn't guard, I have less card than them. But here's the case. Let's say I have 4 cards in my hand, they have 5. Now technically, both of these cards attack activates, right? But since according to the rules, one has to resolve one skill first before actually resolving the other skill, because both skills, because you can't exactly resolve both skills at the same time. It's kind of like the same case with Coco. Solo's Coco. You write Coco on top, counterblast 2. You either resolve the starter's card first or you resolve Coco's skills first. But in this case, or rather in that particular case, you have to actually use the starter's soul blasting effect before you can activate Coco's skill. So I suppose it actually goes in line. But in this particular case, both cards' effects conditions are met. So do I counterblast 2 and then make the opponent drop 2 cards? Or do I actually resolve one card first, then the other? Because if I resolve this, or either one, the opponent drops 1, then he or she will have 4, I will have 4. What about this guy, or the other cards effect? Can I activate it as well? I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. It maybe yes, maybe no. I do not know. Maybe you guys can, like help me answer that out. But for now, I'm trying to play it safe. I make sure that at the very least I try to keep a around like 2 card difference between my opponent's hand, so that in this particular case, I can try to force them to the point where they really had no choice. Like they either have to drop 1 card at least, or they don't guard, and I actually activate both skills at once and make them and force them to draw 2. So nonetheless, so far this card is doing well. It excels. When its chain right goes off, it is a monster. I was able to like dish out like 4 to 5 damage to my opponent within that turn. It is incredible. Fortune is not as rare as I might think. I would say it's probably more uncommon, but it's not rare. And once you manage to get it running, you're good to go. Of course, the other potential problem is that if you actually have a non-chain right Murakumo card right on top of the starter, this guy over here, then you won't be able to. You have to move, which I would prefer to actually move it to the rear guard. But where, right? I mean, it's like a 4K booster is kind of stupid. The other cards isn't exactly going to make it hit very well, and chances are the opponent's probably not going to hit and kill this guy anyway. 4K, sure, it's a booster, but it's a really weak booster. So I really tried my best to actually get the chain right up and running, but chances are sometimes it might not. And also the other potential problem is that I may be forced to actually write a Nubatama on top of a Murakumo, which this card would not activate. So there are some problems that this deck, or rather some conditions that this deck would require. But other than that, I feel that this deck really performs very well, especially against the new decks of today. I tested it several times, even against the Japanese decks of the newer versions. With the really break rights and all that stuff. It actually puts a lot of pressure on them. It's amazing. So nonetheless, I really hope you all enjoyed this video, and do let me know what you think. Give me a comment, and hope to see you all soon.